Dan, we still can't get on the video yet.
Okay, it should be live now.
It says you stopped it. It says you cannot start the video because it is host has stopped it.
Everyone should have control of their video. Hold on.
Hello? There we go. Did you have to do it individually for each one, Dan?
I had to make you a co-host because I think the meeting was set up different for some reason. But you should have the ability to control video now for yourself.
Okay, how about everybody else? Kathy, can you turn on your video?
Dave, I'll do it. I can't turn mine on.
Hold on. I might have to do this for everybody.
Yeah, this is Christopher. I'm having the same issue. It's saying that the host has disabled video.
I'm just gonna
For the record, I don't need to be on video, but that's up to you guys.
The point, Chris.
And that's probably true for everybody.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now.
Okay.
Everybody should have
There we go.
video going forward.
Thank you, Dan.
Not a problem. So I have to make everybody a co-host for now, so you have rights to do.
Yeah.
People are just showing up now.
Here we go.
All right. We are live, by the way. Just let me know when you want me to bring up the PDF to share.
Okay, Kathy, do you want to turn on your video?
I tried to do it, hold on, a couple of times already.
I
There's
know.
something going on with it. Oh,
There you
there
go.
it is. Okay, I had to restart twice. I'm here, thank you.
Yeah, it wasn't your end. It was from our end. So
Oh, really? Okay,
wasn't
good to know.
you.
Good to know.
All right, Kathy, I think we're set to go. I don't know if you want
Okay, is this all that's going to be joining us, Rosemary? I don't see Rosemary.
I expect her to join.
I know Deb is unavailable, and I don't know about Jacob either. Have you heard?
No, they both said you could join. So
All
let me
right,
give,
well, then, should we give him a minute?
all right, I'll give Rosemary a call, see if she's gonna.
Okay, I haven't heard from Jacob, so I don't know if he's going to be here or not.
Well, I'll call Rosemary first, then I'll call Jacob. How's that?
Okay, perfect.
I just talked to Jacob. He's loading up right now.
Kathy, Jacob is on board.
Okay.
I
and
just gave him a call.
Yeah, it looks like he's in. And what about Rosemary?
Rosemary's trying to hook up. She's on her phone though. That's the only difference.
I've never had a problem on my computer before. I don't know why. And I downloaded whatever it asked me to download. App.
Are you at your? Are you at?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Service to this issue and to Connecticut's residents.
Kathy, Rosemary's having some problems getting in. She said start without her and
Okay. And
she'll try to catch up.
She'll join us as she can.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we're going to call this meeting to order. Tonight is Monday, February 8th, 2021. Just for those listening in, 6 p.m. This is a special meeting of the Town Council. The purpose of the meeting is to have a discussion with Office of Consumer Counsel regarding the Valley Water rate increase request. So I will open the meeting up, and Robert, if you'd like to do a little introduction, that would be great, and then we could get going.
Sure. Thank you, Kathy. This evening, well, in arranging tonight's meeting, I was in touch with Attorney Minkowski, who's on as well, and he is an attorney at the OCC, and he invited some of his staff members here this evening. So, Andrew, if you want to introduce your staff people, and then we'll get started, if that's okay.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Lee. My name is Andrew Minkowski. I'm a staff attorney with the Office of Consumer Counsel. I am not tonight's main attraction. That is the individuals who I will introduce to you right now. First on the call, we have the Acting Consumer Counsel, Richard Sobolewski, Utilities Examiner Dave Thompson, and one of our other Utilities Examiners, Tyra Peluso. So I'll yield the floor to Acting Consumer Counsel Sobolewski if he wants to make an opening remark.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Mr. Lee, and members of the council. And I see State Representative Pettit, I think, is on as well too. So thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with you about the rate case. Well, I am the Acting Consumer Counsel. I've been with the agency for almost 35 years, so I go back a long time. I know quite a bit about Valley Water. I even did cases when they were Plainville Water, so it was back a long, long time. You know, we always get very active in the water cases. We always put together a good team of people working for us. On this case, I have Dave Thompson, who's been also in my office for 15 years. He's done quite a few cases with Valley Water. And Tyra Peluso, she's been with our office for a little over 2 years, but she has a long time background working at DPUC, Pura, and numerous utility companies throughout the country. So we have a strong team on the case, and Attorney Minkowski, he's been our lead and most senior attorney at the office. So we will be doing a real hard look at this case. Valley Water is a decent water company. Their rates are among the lowest that we have of our regulated water companies. Their rates are even lower than the MDC, South Central Regional Water Authority, and other entities. They haven't had a rate increase for 11 years. Their last, I know they on the bill, they do have a revenue adjustment mechanism, which basically trues up their revenue to what was allowed in the last rate case. That was pretty much allowed by the state legislature about 7 or 8 years ago. All our utilities have something similar. Just basically, a lot of it is to encourage conservation and to try to keep the companies out of opposing conservation or measures taken by customers to try to reduce their usage. So years ago, they adopted this revenue adjustment mechanism, and it's been pretty successful with most of our water companies. We have very few water companies filing rate cases. It's not a unique situation with that Valley's in. We have, most of our companies haven't filed in 7, 8 years. I think we've had one. We have 3 rate cases right now. We have the Jewett City case, we have Connecticut Water, and Valley Water. But I mean, most of our companies have not filed, like I said, for 7, 8 years. One of the things that Valley does not have that other investor-owned companies have is something called the Water Infrastructure and Conservation Adjustment. It is basically a infrastructure replacement mechanism where the utilities go out and do a lot of, it's mostly for main replacement, service line replacement. So another type of replacements. It's not meant for a treatment plant. It's not meant for those type of larger investments. It's more routine things. And it was a way to encourage utilities to do more speedy replacement. Valley has done a good job of doing replacement. That's one of the reasons they don't have the mechanism is it was designed to be incremental, for encourage incremental investment. And Valley has done a good job over the years. I know a lot of it was done in the center of your town. There were a lot of state projects going on over the last 20 years where, a lot of the state roads were being redone. So they did a lot of major main replacements, through the center of the town there, Route 72, Route 10, 70, whatever it is, 372. So there are a lot of those roads. I know when they were being repaved, they put a lot of new mains in, which hit your rates years ago. So you're somewhat fortunate that you haven't had those annual rate increases that are passed on that way on the bill. So I think that's one of the reasons why your rate increase is pretty large, is that there's a lot of investment that is now hitting the books for this utility. I like to call my other, if you have any questions on that, you can ask them, or I'd like to call on Dave or Tyra to talk a little bit about some of the issues that they've started looking at in the case.
Okay. I think we're all set.
Okay, Dave?
Hi, good evening. I'm Dave Thompson with the Office of Consumer Counsel. One of the biggest investment they have is a small treatment plant which they use to replace an older building that they had that I remember looking at in the last rate case, that they were thinking about replacing that building back then. And it's located right out at one of their well fields where it's right off the highway, and that's where they're also going to be putting in their treatment plant. But that was an old building that was there that they replaced with the building. I think actually I was out there today. Tyra and I were there visiting today, and it went into operation a couple of years ago. But outside of that, it's mainly maintenance service replacements and meter replacement that's been done over the past 10 years that's needs to be put into service right now.
Yeah, I think the big concern, right? I think for the council and for the customers is just that this is a relatively large increase, not at the greatest of time, and there's a great amount of people in the community who feel that Valley Water, the quality of the water, is very substandard. And I know that I believe Dave, you participated in some discussions in the past with that we had with Valley Water as it related to the hardness of the water, and I think others from Pura have as well. And so people are very upset with, we're going to pay more for what they consider lousy water, and perhaps that will factor into and I went through a lot of the details, which are certainly confusing for somebody who who's not familiar with it. But like their return on equity, when they're looking for those bonus numbers, to show that they have been a very good water company and they look to run it efficiently. I think there's perhaps an opportunity, by saying that we're not happy with the quality of water. It's been like that for a long time. That perhaps it works against that, but I'm not sure how much that those bonus points, so to speak, and they get up to, I guess, 100 basis points. I'm not sure how much of an impact that would have on the increase to begin with, the overall increase. But that's kind of the long and the short of it. Kathy, I don't know, or any other council members want to add to that, what I might consider a quick summary.
Well, this is Kathy Puglisi. If I agree with you, Robert. I think that the timing is going to be a little bit difficult for some folks and businesses. Not surprising with what everybody's dealing with, but the quality issue is still a big factor in Plainville. We do know that they're going to be implementing a treatment facility, but that hasn't happened yet. We also know that once that facility is online, there'll be another rate request of an increase. So it is fairly significant, and I think most folks in Plainville are going to be vocal about wondering why this has to happen now, why it's so large, why they waited 10 years, all of those things. So I do agree with Robert. I think those are going to be some factors the town has to deal with in addition to the residents. Does anybody else have any thoughts on it? Any council folks? I guess they all agree with me.
Well, one thing that I was...
Dave Underwood here. I totally
Okay.
agree. The quality of the water has been really poor. When you ask people around town, they'll tell you the same thing. If you put this on a referendum, they'd all tell you, find another water company, because a lot of people are very tired of it over the years. And it comes at a very, very bad time for the public as far as the increase. So.
Thanks, Dave.
And as I go through the details and I look at their financial information, and again, for somebody like, that's looking at it for the first time, it looks like they're doing very well. And so you're sitting there saying, if they're doing so well, and the return on equity that they're paying New England Service Company, the percentages that they're paying, their debt to ratio with their debt to equity, their net income, their book value. I mean, I'm looking at it saying, why are they asking for it other than they can, or am I reading something wrong here?
Oh no, you're 100% right. Their debt to equity ratio, at least what they've filed so far in the case, is, it's a very strong company. I think it's like 63 or 64% equity to 37% debt. I know they just had the refinancing, so we're hoping that refinancing will more balance the capital structure and make it less costly. That we believe the interest rates were lower than what they had before, so that should also, reduce the amount of rate increase that's necessary. But we agree, this is a terrible time to be coming in for rate case. it's, you know, it's a very large increase at a very bad time. And that's going to be part of our message. And any comments that your group makes, I encourage you to say that, say how tough it is on your residents, say how tough it is on the town. And hopefully that carries some weight. I know Pura has started to get tougher with some of the utilities. We're hoping that, they do that on the rate side now. They've been tough on, service quality and other things. So we're hoping that this, that they carry through in this rate case. I know there's been a hardness problem for a long time, and for a while I know they used some softener chemical to try to work, but I don't think that's really, has stopped being effective. So it is a pretty sizable investment. I think it's between $2 and $2.5 million for the softener. I don't know why they were so slow in delaying putting it in. It seems like, there have been tons of meetings in your town for the last 5+ years, and it seems like I don't know if they're afraid to come in for a rate case or whatnot. It's one of the things that, I think customers wouldn't mind paying more for a little bit more. And from what I've heard, it's the cost and the rate impact of that treatment plant really isn't, I think it was 4 or 5% on the bill. So, I mean, I don't really think that's all that significant, and I think that, it could have probably been timed a lot better. I don't know, it's been 10 years, since the last rate case. And there were people complaining then about water quality, So I think both the well fields are hard, and it's time it has to happen. It has to happen. We have other areas in the case that we are concerned about. Like you said, Mr. Lee, the relationship with their parent and service company. They seem to have a lot more activity now with other water systems that they own. Some of them are not regulated by Pura, and some of them are in other states. I think they own a company in New Hampshire. I think they own some in Massachusetts. So that's one of the areas where we are really looking hard at to see, making sure that there's a fair allocation and charging of costs to the other utilities, that Valley's customers aren't paying for employees that aren't really working in Connecticut, and that there's a fair allocation of all the corporate overheads and corporate charges. There seems to have been some turnover there, and even some higher positions. If hired a new, a vice president, and it seems I think there's someone at the company, a Mr. Gallo, who I think is taken over as the Valley president from Mr. Vaughn. So, that's another area you want to look at. What's happened in 10 years? How many more people have you hired? And you're asking for the premium there. Are you really being more efficient, or are you not? You want to make sure that if you're going to get any premium, that you are really being efficient. I know they've started to do their meter readings in the last 5 to 10 years using the drive-by technology. So there should be less workers, needed to manually read meters. So we want to look at all those costs. There seems to be some increase in that area. There's some large increases in depreciation expense, which isn't really well explained in the application. So there was a $200,000 increase in the amount of investment that's happened in the last 2 years. Doesn't seem like it justifies that increase in depreciation. So that's something we have. It seems like they're looking to put some of the plant in service into rates before it's in service. So that's something that's not usually allowed with the water side, at least. Ratepayers don't start paying for things until they're in service. In regards to the capital structure, the formula that's used requires a capital structure that's lower in equity than they're suggesting. So We think that the percentage of equity should be reduced to no more than 60%. And if we're hoping that with the refinancing, it drops significantly, because even 60% is out at the outer limits of what's reasonable. Otherwise, it's just too costly because, equity has a higher return. Normally equity returns for, the utilities are in the 9 to 10% range. So you have that, plus they're grossed up for taxes. You pay tax on the equity return. So you have a state and federal income tax. Even though the federal tax has gone down, there's still a big gross up for that. So that's what we're looking at. Maybe Dave and Tyra can talk with some other areas that we've identified at this point.
You've covered most of the areas already. And as you say, just want to reemphasize that we still have a lot of clarification to be done on the parent company and intercompany charges, that to make sure that there's no double charging and that the operating company, the Valley Water Company, is paying no more than its fair share. And we get pretty vigorous in trying to get to what the right number should be.
I mean, we go in
issues that in the last rate case, there was just Valley and New England, and now we have other companies in the mix. So based on that, we're just assuming that those costs should be going down and be reflected in Valley Water's cost of doing business, which should be leading to lower rates. And again, who knows, maybe that's part of the reason why they were out for 10 years also, because they've been able to keep some of those costs low. We don't know yet until we finish our investigation and hearings to see what's what and what's driving this this request.
Yeah, normally by now we would have been at the company doing an audit in person, but given COVID, we're not allowed to travel to the companies. Normally we'd spend, I don't know, close to a week at a company looking over their books and records. And, it's also a good way, normally that's a good way for us to talk to the company employees and, ask questions about various things outside of the hearing. So it's a little more tougher this time around. And with 10 years passing, there's a lot more digging probably to do. We really want to compare where we were, 10 years ago and see what's evolved over the time period, what changes have been made, what people have come and gone, and just, check that the expenses are reasonable, that they're not, it's not just because it's a rate case that all things are going up, that we want to make sure they've managed the company efficiently, and there are things in there that are not, not just popping up now because it's a rate case.
Yeah, I echo what my colleagues have said. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, we look at trends like since the past rate case, not just what you're presenting to us and say, oh, we need this. We need to see why you need that based on what the business has been doing. For example, you can't be increasing, let's say, your payroll, asking for an extra whatever number more full-time employees when traditional over the past number of years, you didn't have that level of employees and the business need it doesn't support it. So we go through all that.
Yeah, I echo that. And, building on that, one of the examples would be, meter reading that has become more technology based. So looking at the payroll, are we hiring more people to do that when we don't need to? But one of the things I wanted to suggest, Kathy had mentioned this earlier about the customers. If there are any customers that have input, I would recommend that they file, comments directly to PURA in the docket, or if they want to do that through the council, that would definitely help guide not only where the OCC may look, but also the PURA itself.
Thank you for that suggestion.
Another thing that will be,
go ahead.
This is
Sorry, I was just about to say, another thing that we're exploring also is trying to understand how these companies are, if they're applying for PPP money or stuff like that to help with their costs and make sure that customers are benefiting from whatever programs they're getting help from, and that it's not going to shareholders, but it's going to help customers also.
And this is Andrew Minikowski. I just wanted to follow up on what Tyra had said a moment ago and provide the Pura docket number to everyone. It's 20-11-14. That's 20-11-14. So, you know, when reaching out to folks in town and encouraging them to submit comment, make sure they have that number when they reach out to Pura so it ends up in the right place. Because like Tyra said, that's an absolutely crucial part of the process. And what happens sometimes on issues of public significance is there are only a small handful of comments, and it's hard to draw what, you know, where the voice of the people is when there's only a few voices. So to the extent that folks in town want to weigh in, we would, as the OCC, encourage them to do so robustly.
And those notifications should be out already, I believe. The customer notice.
Yes, that went out in the latest bills. You know, sometimes it gets buried. You don't see it as, you know, I got it, I read it. We're trying to do a push on social media. People get fired up when it first comes out. Now, as we get closer to the date, we will remind them that you know, the public hearing's coming up, and you know, now's the time to make your feelings be known, or else you know, you can live with the consequences. So.
And I think my colleagues pointed out, you can do it in writing, or you can come on and do the Zoom hearings. Even not just the evening one. I mean, I know some people might work evenings, so you could even come on during the day. And normally they take comment from public both in the morning and in the afternoon. So when they're doing the evidentiary hearing, so there's opportunities those days as well. So just don't concentrate on the one evening hearing. There's other times that comment is taken by the authority.
And also, as long as the record is open, they can send their comment via email at the email address that's attached to, that's included in the customer notice, or at the Pura website will have the email address to send it, referring your 20-11-14 docket number.
Yes, I have asked as a town manager to be a interested party. I filed that last week. I haven't heard anything yet, so they said they usually get back within 5 days or so. And I don't know whether they'll grant us, you know, an interested party or an intervener status. I guess there's technically two different categories there. One of the purposes of tonight's meeting was the town council would like to, you know, make some type of, you know, either opening statement or opening remarks, you know, at the public hearing on Thursday. And, you know, we don't want to make it too long-winded. We wanted to focus on a couple of things. And I think that was kind of the purpose, a little bit of the purpose for tonight's meeting is what should the council focus on as maybe an opening statement. And then, you know, hopefully we'll follow through the process and the progress as it goes. It's my intention, if possible, to participate, you know, in the hearings. There's plenty of them. They get very technical. I remember 10 years ago going to one or two of them, and, you know, I was able to catch up on some of my sleep while I was doing that. And, you know, it's not because they didn't want to. It's just because it gets so technical that, you know, you get lost, you know. And, but I suspect that it is important to participate in, and I think Pura, I would like to think that the commissioners, you know, would take notice of people participating, you know, even from the town side, if it's done on a regular basis, and even ask questions as we go along as well. But you tell me if that has any impact at all. You know, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Well, I think it definitely does. I mean, when you get a pretty large outcry, I think, you know, especially when it's out of the norm, when you have the customers come out and do filings or speak. I mean, even just attending the, jumping on for the hearing for, even if you don't want to speak, just jumping on for 10, 15 minutes, just to jump on. You can, if you go onto the calendar for Pura, you can register for the Zoom hearing. It's like almost immediate. You'll get an email where you can jump on, and then, you don't have to show your face. You could just show no video, but you want to just watch and listen what's going on. You can listen to the discussion that's going on. And I know it's very technical, but just jumping on for 10 or 15 minutes, just, show some support, and, Pura will see that there was, some people paying attention. So I think all the support you can give, through whatever means possible helps in these cases. It helps a lot more than people realize.
The commission would like to know that people are paying attention to their utility bills and are just concerned, especially in this time right now where, with COVID and employment situations, people hours been cut and all the other economic forces going against them. So it's having a lot of support doesn't necessarily fall on deaf ears.
Yeah, I would highly agree with that. The visibility really does matter, and it does count based on my experience. And not only the economic hardships right now, but you discuss the town is very concerned with quality, and not only the OCC, but I know very recently, just from Pura's decisions, they are very concerned with quality and service issues. So I would definitely recommend that.
There's been stories over the years about, the damaging effects of the hard water. Customers should say them again, especially now, when they're asking for the bonus return. Just say, hey, service quality hasn't been that great. They don't deserve a bonus. Planting the seed helps.
Well, the
And
town
I think,
council, go ahead, Tyra.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to add on to that I think that the COVID impacts probably definitely play a part as well, because more people may be, I don't know this for a fact, but they may be remote. So they're, maybe during the day when they were working outside of town with access to water in a different location. Now they're at home using more of the water. So definitely provide the comments.
Well, I was just going to add that about a year and a half ago or so, the town had a very lively public discussion with the water company regarding water quality issues. And we had several meetings with them. We had 2 public sessions where we invited the public to come and talk to us about their experience with the water company, with the rates, and with their water quality concerns. We did a lot, and Robert Lee will attest to the fact that we did that. We have a lot of that information. I'm not sure how much of that is useful in sending forward, but it was actually highly publicized. It was on television. We had a very good response from our residents who continued to struggle with water quality issues, along with the cost of some of the rates they were paying at that time. Now with this substantial increase, I can only imagine how those same people are going to feel, in that the water quality has not changed. Nothing has changed to this point. The filtration system that they're going to be putting in place is not done yet. So our residents, and not just residents, businesses as well. There are businesses that struggle with some of the effects of hard water in their operations. So I think we could put together a very nice package of what we've done so far in terms of public outreach, in terms of what we have gotten from our residents and their unhappiness with the water quality and the cost of it, and how it's going to impact them in a negative manner going forward. So Robert, we did have a large presence in terms of this not that long ago. Maybe we could draw from that and put some examples with our packet that we could send along to the commission. Would that be helpful?
I would think so. And my recollection was that there were some pure people who participated in those
Yep.
public information sessions as well. I've
Mhm.
heard firsthand, at least some of the staff, for sure.
Yep. So they would be familiar. They would remember all of those. They several meetings. We had a representative from the health department come and give us some guidance. So it was a big attempt by the town to try and address some of the quality issues. This is a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, and it's not changed, you know. And people are going to, I'm sure, recognize that. So, what do we have to do next, Robert? Are we going to be creating a document or a letter or a statement from the town council that would be submitted as part of the hearing process?
Yes, I'd like, based on, some of the things I've learned today and going through the docket with a little bit more detail than I have in the past, some of the attachments and whatnot. And based on this conversation today, I think I could, draft up an opening statement that perhaps you could make, Kathy, at the beginning of the meeting or when they open it up, the public hearing. And that might allow some of the public who's watching to maybe piggyback on some of your comments as well. You give them some ideas and they follow through on it. In talking to Valley Water, and I have a pretty good relationship with them, I believe, their position, coming out of the gate is pretty much, what yours was, Richard, on your opening statements is that, our rates are low in comparison to everybody else. And so, we think we've done a pretty good job. And I think just justifying the increase just based on the fact that their rates are relatively low is going to be a major strategy for them. And it'll be interesting to see how Pura looks at that, because, that they deal with rates all across Connecticut and say, hey, what are you complaining about, Valley Water customers? You're actually doing pretty good for a lot of years, and I'm afraid that they may take that type of attitude.
I don't think they really will. I think it doesn't really matter if your rates are high or your rates are low. They're going to look, and we're going to go after the company no differently. We do the same detailed investigation of the cost of the company, and hopefully Pura does the same. There's been a lot of staff changes at Pura. But I think on the water side, they still have a lot of the same people. So I'm hoping that there are people there who are doing the case that were around the last rate case. That's one of the big things when companies are out a long time. They have staff turnover. The regulator has staff turnover. I mean, we're lucky. Kyra knows quite a bit about Valley. David knows a lot about Valley, and so do I. So it's, we kind of know what rocks to turn over and where to dig. So I think we could be pretty successful in trying to, try to limit and find areas where we can recommend adjustments to the company's request.
I think the summary that Kathy gave regarding the meeting a year and a half ago, that might be a very impactful statement to make, so that Pura understands, or if you need to remind them of what has been happening since they've been in for a rate case. And I'm sure the company will say, well, that is why we're going to do the treatment plant now. So, but maybe the time for any reward is maybe in your next rate case or something, assuming that you do that in a very efficient manner and not now. So, that can open the door for a lot of discussion and a lot of different positions, and in terms of the ROE bonus and other costs that's associated with this rate application.
Madam Chair?
But I would definitely want to get some of that information on the record.
Okay, we'll make sure that happens. Mike, was that you?
Yes, Madam Chair, Mike Mastriani. Could I ask a question of Richard?
Sure.
Yep.
Richard, the town has been told that by others that the utilities usually get 90 to 95% of the requested rate hike. Is that accurate? Is that something we should expect?
That's a very high percentage. That's very high. I don't think Valley's has never had anything close to that success. In all the cases I've done, I think you know, there's no we've seen cases where companies have gotten nothing. We have seen, cases where they got 50%, 60%. It's all over. It depends on the quality of the case. And I think, if something's gone into service and the cost of it, as long as it was a prudent investment, they're gonna start earning on that plant. But I mean, the expenses and stuff is an easier place for us to dig when we look at salary levels, what benefits they're paying, what's being charged to Connecticut, the Valley versus what's being charged to the parent company and the other, their service company. They have contracts, helping manage other systems, running other systems for, private and public entities. So trying to make sure there's a fair allocation of those costs, the corporate cost, the office, everything. It's as simple as, making sure the allocation's done where all the people under the umbrella are paying a fair share. So trying to make sure that, all those entities are contributing fairly to the corporate expenses and making sure that it's not all going to the Connecticut operation. So that's a big task we have. It's a little different this time, but we're confident that that's an area we think we can find something. It's one of the areas that we have some history with this company from the past of what they were doing with New England Service, Water Service, whatever it's called. They do have, what do you call it? And that was years ago. Now with them owning, 3 or 4 other water systems, we see them all listed in the board, the board minutes and some of their activities. So we will be pursuing that, and hopefully we find ways to cut the rate increase, but saying that they're going to get 90% or more, that rarely happens.
You would have to come with a very lean rate application, which means you're asking strictly for what you need and that and then some.
And like we said originally, just because you incurred the cost last year, we're going back 10 years to see, what the story was, to make sure that it's not something new. All of a sudden, you're doing well financially, so you're starting to add on new layers of costs and new items that you previously didn't have or didn't need. So we want to make sure that's the case. Not the case, the ratepayers aren't being charged anything extra for service.
Richard, is there any special strategy that we can use as it relates to the fire protection? That portion of it that hits the town. I know that, the last time we did this, Pure was kind of looking at it and say, hey, we'd rather spread it around to everybody a little bit through the town budget than hit the ratepayers, users directly. That's a big chunk for us. And I'm not sure that, we benefited much over some of the improvements they've made over the last, that, for example, the fixing up that well field at, station at Woodford Avenue, that doesn't help fire protection,
Right. They did do a cost of service study. It's something we're looking at. That's where they do the cost allocations to the various types of service. My quick look wasn't. There wasn't. I know in some of the other recent cases there was almost a catch up where more was charged to fire. I'm not sure that's the case this go around. If it's more of a level or less of an allocation to fire protection, but that's one of the things you can ask for. I know some other water companies are very careful about what they do on fire protection. We've seen some of the water companies offer, smaller increases for fire protection and to the municipalities. So there's no harm in asking for less of an allocation to fire protection, or that, to suggest that, given the economic times, that less is allocated to the town?
Well, I would point out that the increase they're looking for the typical user, they're talking about probably a 38, 39% increase, and for the fire protection, they're asking for about a 24% increase. So it is certainly lower than what they're looking for the residential user, but it still has a major impact on our budget, so.
Understood. But I know some companies have even been less than that. They've kept it, even when there's a large increase. I think Connecticut Water has been very careful about allocating any increases to the municipalities. Much smaller, single-digit increases.
I don't know if there's
right, Dave?
With that, also you got to think about the size of the system and the amount of customers involved. Where maybe for you, a smaller reduction will mean a bigger bill impact to your residents also. So it's moving it from one bucket to another, and that's probably that's one of the concern there. And at a quick glance, as Richard said, the proportion of the increase is proportional to your total from the old revenue request to new one. It's the same. It's not a higher percentage of the overall,
Kathy, I don't know if there's other council members who want to jump in, or even Bill Pettit, if they want to at least make a.
Sure. Bill, are you available? Do you have any thoughts?
Something, right? But I also don't see lasting a very long time.
I've heard about half because I'm still hanging on my public health hearing.
Oh, okay.
Probably the same things I asked when we had the meeting, in that the timing overall is not great, and smaller increases more frequently as opposed to a large increase once a decade, and not including the upgrade to the filtration for the hardness creates issues that people are not going to want to hear or understand. So, but I guess the bulk of the decision ends up in the pure side of things.
Okay. Do any other council members have any thoughts on our proceeding forward? Robert, when is the public hearing? I don't think I knew that date.
It's Thursday the 11th. It starts at 6 p.m.
Thursday, 2/11. Okay.
So what I do is perhaps over the next day and a half, draft up, some bullet points and share them with the council members, and there'll be other opportunities to contribute. So it isn't like a one and done, So.
Okay.
Exactly. There's all the evidentiary hearings, and those are starting later in the month, I think. So you have those opportunities as well. And like Dave said, you have the ability to file written comments until briefs are issued. So that's, you probably have another month or more to file things in writing.
Okay. Well, I think it would be important for the council at our next meeting, or in some other way, perhaps, Robert, a press release, and certainly some use of our social media platform to remind our residents about the upcoming rate case that is going to be having public hearing, that their input is important, that, these regulatory agencies do want to hear from the consumers that are going to be affected by these increases. So I think it would be wise for us to create something that would encourage people to please, and they could either submit them to the town council through an email, or if it's easier, directly through to the docket number that we were given. I'm not sure which is the most efficient way to do that, but if we could gather up a packet and send it through, that may help get things organized. Does everybody agree with me that we need to do a little more public relations outreach to get folks involved, because it is imminent and we need to get this going?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree too, Kathy, definitely.
Okay. Okay, I would assume that everybody is on board with that approach. So if we could do that, Robert, put together a press release in addition to the testimony and start publicizing it in the local weekly print media as well as social media and whatever we can put on our Town of Plainville website to make that, get it to wherever we can so that people know there's a method for them to express their concern. That would be a good thing to do. Okay. Okay. Any other questions from our presenters or any for the town manager or myself tonight? Any final thoughts on? I think we're in agreement where we're going to go with it. And if you have any ideas or any specific concerns, you can certainly send an email to the town manager, include us on it if you want, just so we know where we're all going. That would be helpful. I appreciate that. I would like to thank everybody that participated from the agency. Certainly your advice is well thought out, and we're going to take it to heart and do the best we can to make sure that the town of Plainville and its residents are properly represented in this case, and that we can do anything we can to try and mitigate some of the difficulties with that large of an increase. I do understand the water company is a private entity and that they are the only water company in town, and water is a commodity that everybody needs, of course. That's not a denial of the fact. Sure. But folks also want to be able to be assured that they have quality water for drinking purposes, for cooking and eating purposes. And they need to be assured that the rates that they're going to be asked to pay line up with the quality of water and the service that they deserve. So I do appreciate all the information you gave us tonight. Is there anything else that you think we should include or consider before we say thanks again?
Sorry. Kathy, hi, this is Tyra. I just wanted to let everyone know in the chat function, I sent over the docket number along with the email address to the executive secretary. That is one avenue for filing comments. And I also shared the time schedule in a link.
Great. Okay.
And as we get more information, as we continue our investigation, we can send some of the our more defined positions to Mr. Lee, and he can share them with you if that's okay.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. And just one final question. When will there be a decision on this? Do you have any, is it like several months, a year? Do you know how long it's going to take for that decision to be finalized?
Well, they have 200 days from the date of the application was filed. So
I
think it's April sometime.
May 26th. Is the deadline.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, seems like a long off, but that's going to be here quickly, and there's a lot of work to be done in the meanwhile. So once again, I'd like to thank all of you. I do have to leave because I have another meeting I got to jump in on at 7. So is there anything else from Mike? You're all set? Mike Mastriani, all set?
I am, Kathy. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for joining us tonight. I assume all the council is set, and again, any other concerns or questions, you can certainly send them off to Town Manager Lee.
Yep, and thank you for everyone from OCC for participating, taking an hour out of your evening to assist us in this, and we'll stay in touch and follow this case and maybe hopefully have a positive impact. So thank you again.
You're welcome. Our pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Rest of the night to everybody. Thanks
Good night.
again.
Bye-bye.
All right, good night.
Thank
Have
you.
a good week, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
You too. Yep.